Well, good morning, YouTubers, non-YouTubers, sentient beings, non-sentient beings, cult members, and non-cult members. This is Monica's Ghost. And this is first in another series of videos that I'm going to be doing that kind of clarify the cult of the fraudster. Basically, one of the challenges of America specifically, really, but most of the world is how we get wrapped up in cult. It's become more and more prevalent, and much like other issues, is it more prevalent because we're having some kind of problem that we're starting to, as a population, veer toward this type of behavior, or is it that we just recognize it more? There are several different things that happen in the cult of the fraudster, as in any cult, and I'm going to talk about them a little bit, and I'll kind of try to contrast and compare a little bit. It's going to be a rather dry video compared to my usually, hepped up, wonderful, awesome cult leader self myself. So, where the fuck off button is, you can go to a different video, whatever. I'm going to try not to make this too long, because it just needs a little bit of, there's just a little bit of clarification so people understand, because there's something else out there also called what's called the reluctant fraudster, or the reluctant cult leader, somebody who's really not trying to be one, but kind of gets wrapped up in stuff, and then they kind of get shit on the way other people, or the way shit on about it, when actually you should be looking a little bit higher up the food chain for this kind of thing. So first off, the cult of the fraudster, it's a religion like anything else. The religion is just basically getting sucked into a belief system where you are being told how you're going to behave, what you're going to do, how you're going to think, and why. And that can that can be in any, people think of religion obviously as spirituality, with a sky daddy or a sky mommy and all that kind of stuff. Your sky daddy and sky mommy can be anybody, right? And in the cult of the fraudster, which is a cult of personality, you're backing the person really, and not the play, not the cause. The cause is the motivator, and the cause is going to be used. If you took the name of the person leading that cause, or the people, many times in fraudster areas or in newer cults, you have an oligarch of people, so they don't look so dictatorial. It's usually a group of higher functioning sociopaths need more coffee, and narcissists who have grouped together to form this kind of oligarch of cult leader. But sometimes you're just gonna have one guy, and you'll have a bunch of upper placed minions following him around, which we'll talk about. We'll show you an example in a little while. So it's the personality usually that makes the play, but the cause is what's going to be thrown out there. Okay, I'm going to do a video right after this. Is going to be a perfect example of something like that, and I'll probably reference it a couple times in here. So a great cause, obviously of any cult, the cause is Christianity. And I don't mean all Christians. Don't freak out. Although I have my considerations about that too. I'm talking about actual Christian cults, I don't know, what was the one guy from Russia who thought he was Jesus Christ reincarnated, but he really wouldn't talk about himself so much as the second coming and the cause of the second coming, right? But it's him that people were following, not the cause of the second coming, or that he's going to be bringing in the second coming. Okay. Second of all, in this point, all cult leaders are fraudulent, obviously, because they think that they're gods, and we know they can't be, and they're all committing a fraud against the person. So when you say the cult of the fraudster, or a fraudster, there is also a couple other specific things that they're doing. And I'll mention it quick, and then we'll talk about it more in the end. One of the biggest things is product placement. Not just the cause, but the product placement. Okay, actual product placement, and we'll talk about that in the end, or near the end. The sense of belonging that comes when you've bought into the cult This is a two-way street. It is makes the person feel good, because sense of belonging. We're a social animal, and we want to have a sense of belonging, and in that sense of belonging, we don't question the cult leader or the cause that they're promoting out there, because we won't belong anymore. Because that is, in the cult of the fraudster, you cannot ask a question. Okay, you are to question nothing, because if you question something, then other people start to have questions, and then the power hold over the group is broken. The spell is broken, and not only that, but on the other side, as one of the members, you lose all your friends and all your support system and everything else that you've built, especially because in the cult of the fraudster, this is your only support system. I mean, much like in other cults, there is nobody else. And that's a dualism we'll talk about as well. The fraudster is the god, as I said before. But he's kind of a background god. So anti-vax is a perfect example of this, okay? That it has a multitude of mini cults running around inside of it, that are have their little fraudsters in there. One of the only name I can think of who I don't personally believe he's one of the fraudster gods, but I think he's kind of one of the reluctant fraudster gods, is Andrew Wakefield. So that's a terrible example, because I've read enough information to think that he's kind of like a reluctant cult leader in a way, compared to others. I think he's more controlled, and there's some others we could talk about. But I think if you just like put in anti-vax and you look for like the big names, Mike Adams, the Health Ranger, Alex Jones, people like that, people who really haven't like done anything, not even one pseudo-scientific type of piece of research, and tried to just share something, and reluctantly got caught up when their research was proven wrong. I'm talking about people who never probably even read a white paper, and if they have, they've only read the conclusion and the part they wanted to read. Okay, those type of people who will highlight and take out only what they want and won't give you an overview of something. Okay. The other thing is faith and belief versus study and consideration, which I just kind of touched on a little bit. But the fraudster, believe me, I know what I'm talking about, right? Why do you have to go read that? One of the things I say in one of my other channels, is I say, and I'm going to start saying it here a lot too, I think, is, you don't believe me? Go look it up. I mean, I'm a terrible person with citation and links. It's not the way I work. I throw this out here so you will go look at it, okay? So you hopefully will go check it out. But I find it interesting that a majority of people that I talk to are like, no, I went and looked and blah, 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 blah. And seem to be reasonable human beings. And then you'll meet a few people here and there and be like, well, blah, blah said so. I mean, look, he's a professional magpie charmer. He has to know. Really? In this world of information, you can't take 25 minutes and go look something up. Half an hour. And the thing is that the magpie may say to you, well, you should look that up. They may say, but they're not going to just say, hey, go look that up and see, whatever. They're going to guide you, okay? Right away, they're going to guide you, which I'm going to show an example of in my next video. It's perfect. And then their minions guide you. Go look up this and this and this. And they'll believe anything that's put in front of them, too. They won't just look up scholarly information. They won't look up scientific information. They won't look up real information that contains meta-analysis. What they'll do is they'll just throw anything at you. The first 5 links off Google. Because the internet is its own cult and it's always right. And of course, they'll always point out only the negatives of whatever the devil is that you're dealing with. Okay? Not what they're dealing with, because the devil to them is already the devil. What you're dealing with. They know you're questioning. So when they come to you, the cult leader and his little minions, his little echo chamber, here we go. We're going to submit to fear. Be afraid. Everything on the other side is the devil. Now, I may not have all the answers, they'll say to you. Oh, I won't, But I can tell you for sure, I don't have all the answers about my side, because I probably haven't read crap about my side if I'm the cult leader and the minion, or one of the minions. But I can tell you everything that's wrong with the other side. I can tell you right down to whose toenails are painted, pink and purple underneath their shoes. I can tell you who poops green in the morning. I can tell you, I've probably looked in their windows to see if they're having homosexual sex, with 50 people. I can tell you what's wrong with them. But I can't cite, as the cult leader or the minion, I can't cite any concerns about my own belief system, nor can I cite on my side, nor can I cite any positives of the other side, because there can't be any. Because the cause has to be pure. Because otherwise, we can't sell you the shit. Right? And here is my perfect example, which is Jim Bakker, which I'm hoping to get to here pretty quick. And I want you to take a really good look at this picture. It took me a bit to find it because they're pretty careful. And I almost went and got a clip and did one myself, but my clips always turn out fuzzy when I do that from videos. So I wanted to find one that you could really see what's going on here. Okay? Because this is what separates your regular, just power-filled cult member cult leader who's just looking to have like sex with all the teeny boppers, or is just looking to have spinning eye control over everybody because it makes him feel good in his narcissistic way. This is an example of where it starts to veer to fraudster. Now, you could also say that about like regular old churches where you're like, oh, they make us tithe or whatever. Nobody really makes you tithe. And you're not really getting a tangible item in return. So you still have to go on your belief system. What happens here is that there's going to be a product, a tangible return. Okay, they're going to promise you a tangible return. And it's going to be spectacular. It's going to be beyond spectacular. You are going to love it. You're going to want more. Until you get it in the mail and then you find out it's half the shit they said it was going to be or whatever. I mean, you have to look at this. He's got these big buckets behind him. And all this over here, which is a product placement, I'm sure, for something else, but you're going to fill the space, okay, as the fraudster. And as best you can. And $2,500 plus shipping, and you will get all of these buckets of food. And you should see, one of these times you have to watch a clip of one of his salesmen selling this stuff and the pictures they show, or the food they'll put out on the table, versus the pictures on the buckets is what I was going to say. It's amazing. Look, this is what you'll get. It show like a fucking, gourmet hamburger. It's like, no, you're not getting no gourmet. You're not getting a gourmet hamburger out of that bucket of freeze-dried fucking flakes. You're just not. But this is, so they've built you up, and specifically the last point I made before this, the demonization and the fear-mongering, gets you to this point because you will purchase what they're going to sell to you without question. And in a video yesterday, because I can't go without referencing Monica Milka, right, and Monica's entity, because she thinks I'm obsessed with her, is a perfect example of, I did a remix last night, and I was discussing a CDC report that was done on her, and they said one of the problems they were having with getting the information is that the people, that the clients didn't want to talk to the government, didn't want to talk to the CDC guys because they felt they were government. It wasn't even really CDC guys. I believe it was a bunch of guys. I think there was like one or two government guys in the research project, but they just didn't want to talk to them because they were afraid and the fear, and you might lose out if you talk to them. Then you're going to lose out on the product, the tangibility of what's being done for you. Okay. And that's super important, because you don't want to lose your space and your ranking in wherever you're at. So why is it that people are so easily led? I just want to do this really, really quick as far as like, because people are like, well, I would never be led into that. Don't be so sure. Okay? I've studied cults and I still bought into the bullshit and got pretty scary myself for a period of time. Buying into the fraudsters and buying into the fear-mongering. The only thing was I didn't have the money to spend, so I was one of the lucky ones because I was so broke that but I bought into if I'd had the money, I would have spent it, I'm sure. And once you come back to a middle ground, the reasonable space, you realize, wow, how did I get there? Well, first of all, you're programmed to do so. When you think about it, from the day you're born, an authority takes you out of your mama, or catches you when you come out of your mama. And he's the authority and he knows all. Okay? Because he's got this great education. It doesn't matter that he might be a dick. It doesn't matter that he might be we don't know what, right? He's just a human being like anybody else. But he is already kind of the reluctant cult leader in a way. A doctor is, even though they're well educated and they have science behind them in a lot of areas, they're still kind of the reluctant cult leader. Do everything the doctor says. Do everything the nurses say. No authority as a mom. A lot of the times, it's changed a lot now. But when I had my first couple kids, it was like that, and I can remember my mom picking up the Dr. Spock book. And reading out of it about the authority on babies, a little cult going on there as well. You didn't know well enough on your own. Didn't have any mother's instincts. You just got to read this book and it'll tell you what to do. So we're programmed to do this. And we go to school and we're told the teacher's the authority, and you do what the teacher says. And if you don't do what the teacher says, you're going to go to the bigger cult leader, which is your principal, and you get your ass kicked. And I remember I was in school at a time where they used to be able to spank you. They used to be able to do corporal punishment, and they had a board in the office. Looked like one of those fish scaling boards. Oh yeah, smack you on the butt with it. So yeah, and there's punishment involved if you don't conform and you don't become part of the echo chamber and do what you're told and have your sense of belonging, then that's it. Okay. And then we do this right through our lives. We get a job. In corporate America, your boss is the cult leader. You do what he says. You need to have a sense of belonging. You just do what you're told and, keep your head low. The other problem is that we are a creature of dualism, because we are both a creature of fantasy and impossible thinking in the area of inventiveness or our imagination, but we're also a creature of logic, and it varies depending on the person, correct? So this also plays into the idea of the dualisms of right and wrong and good and bad, because what happens is we have this need for belief, and in the need for belief we want to find the easy truth because we're told, okay, from the beginning in our programming, that if you have healthy skepticism and you question everything, okay, or anything, then you have not taken your position up. And if you haven't taken your position up, you're a wishy-washy, pansy little bastard. Okay? I tried to cover all the thingies there, so it wasn't sounding like I was like being, I mean, you get called filthy, awful things. Okay? I do it myself. Everybody does it. Everybody does it. It's part of our programming. I mean, I don't agree with Monica Milka and what she's done, so I, in my own way, say crappy things about her. But on the other sense of that, I'm also questioning everything on both sides, including my own. Whereas most people, and I'm not saying that makes me better, I'm just saying that you can see that when you do that, you can see how other people are not doing that. Question everything. Why? Question everything, question nothing. Believe in everything and believe in nothing is kind of a way of looking at it. Believe that there is, 40,000 sky daddies out there. Actually, it's like 4,000. There's 4,000 religions, 4,200 religions, right? So and some of them have multiple gods. So let's say 10,000 gods out there. And then say, no, I don't believe in one of them. And see where that gets you. See what that does for you. When you say, I believe this, go read as much information from the dualistic side that you don't believe in. And see where that gets you. What starts to happen is you become actually a more reasonable human being, and you start to understand that skepticism and the questioning of everything, even if it's something you believe, and the understanding of the concerns of what you believe, the things that don't quite make sense, can be very enlightening and can be very freeing for a person. But in the most part, you're not going to see that, because the human being, as I said, has to keep their head down and do what they're told, and being indecisive, quote unquote, because you can use your dualism in a positive way to say, hey, I am completely a Christian, but I really have some problems with this, this, and this in the Bible. Jefferson, really great about that. Deist, very much into faith and spirituality, but went through the Christian Bible, the King James Version, and just ripped that son of a bitch apart. Okay, oh my God, somebody's going to come get me because I called the Bible a son of a bitch. Still very, very filled with faith. How do you do that? You educate yourself. You use the brain that you were given by whatever it was, the Big Bang, God, the devil, gray aliens from outer space, and you use it. And you walk away from this cult. And this is why I think people have become so susceptible to the cult of the fraudster or the cult of anything, because they don't want to have to make a decision not to decide. They don't want to have to make the decision. They don't want to have to commit to not committing. Because then you're not part of the game, and you're not part of the echo chamber, and you're not belonging. So that's how the fraudsters get you, and that's how the cult of fraudster works, and how at the end here, as I described, how you kind of buy into it and why you buy into it. And I think you should just believe me because, well, I know everything. And I'm Monica's ghost. I run my own cult, right? You guys have a good day.